So, Ray, this chapter is the kind of the foundation of everything. Mm-hmm. Gospel doctrine creates gospel culture.
Yeah.
That has become so precious to us. Each of us, in some way, has mentioned a little bit about how we first discovered and stumbled into this kind of idea. Tell us a bit more for you about how that's become so precious to you.
Well, thank you, Sam. And we want to thank each listener for dialing this in and attending to this. And we don't want to waste your time. We want this to be very meaningful and helpful to you. So let's just jump right in. Gospel culture gradually became clearer and clearer to me about 10 to 12 years ago as I was rebuilding not just my ministry, but my life from the deepest foundations. And I began to see, especially in Galatians chapter 2, Galatians 2, 11 through 21, for me, has become one of the most glorious, disturbing, and authoritative, captivating, compelling passages in the New Testament, because that's where I finally saw that the Apostle Paul rebuked the Apostle Peter publicly and openly. I mean, we're so rightly hesitant to chew each other out, right? But Paul corrected Peter. Why? Because Peter was violating gospel doctrine, nothing less than justification by faith alone, by troubling, disturbing, violating gospel culture. That's where I finally saw, okay, I've always revered gospel doctrine, but gospel culture just wasn't on my radar. And that means I wasn't really faithful to gospel doctrine.
Yeah.
When I saw that, Sam, I realized, okay, I've got to change. Yeah. This is not a nicey-nice add-on for extroverts. This is part of faithfulness to Christ. Yeah. How did it land on you? How did that happen?
Well, I think similar to you, I had the sense and the instinct, but it was stumbling into a scripture that then explained it to me that was the key thing. And one of the key passages, which I mentioned briefly in the introduction to the book, is 1 Timothy 5. And when Paul is talking about the care of widows, he then broadens it out to talk about the importance of caring for our own household generally. And he has that phrase, I'll just find it here. He said, if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith.
Whoa.
Not just he's not consistently living out the faith, he's denied it. And I'd always had the category of denying the faith. I'd always applied that to people who teach a different gospel, who undermine the authority of Scripture, who teach something different to the faith. But in this case, it's not someone teaching anything contrary to the faith. It's someone not actually letting the true faith work itself out in practice. That's not just a matter of neglect. That's a matter of denial. We are denying the faith.
Wow. Sam, I've never noticed that before. I remember a completely wretched sermon I preached on 1 Timothy 5 when I was planting a church out in Eugene, Oregon, years ago. I did not see what you just explained. And so many times reading the New Testament and the Old Testament, I've had aha moments like that. When in God's mercy, I just realized, oh my goodness, affirming the faith is a bigger category than I had allowed.
Yeah.
So let's be thoroughly faithful to gospel doctrine. Orthodoxy on steroids. That's the beauty of the gospel.
Sounds good to me.